How's it, everybody? My name is Brendan and I want to welcome you to the Be Creative channel. Now, how many of you have actually been on YouTube either watching a video or searching for a video, and YouTube gives a suggestion of a video that you may be interested in or that you should watch? Well, a couple of weeks back I was watching a video and a suggestion came up of a guy who actually had a different way of using Airbrush Flow Improver. He claims that everybody is using it incorrectly. So I figured, well, okay, I watched the video and I thought, well, let me give it a try. So using a selection of the acrylic water-based paints that I have available in my stash, namely from the AK Air series, Vallejo's Game Color, Vallejo's Model Air, Green Stuff World's Colorshift Metal Cobalt Blue, and Vallejo's Premium Airbrush Color. So I used all of these using this method of mixing the Vallejo Airbrush Flow Improver with the paints, and I had absolutely no problems at all. I found the finish to be actually far better than my previous attempts of using Flow Improver. So what's the difference between my previous attempts at using Flow Improver to this one? Well, with this one, I've got to, it was suggested, well, the guy said that you should mix Airbrush Flow Improver 50% and 50% of your chosen acrylic paint, water-based acrylic paint, of course. Now, this can be used for any water-based acrylic paint. Okay, so 50% your Vallejo Airbrush Flow Improver and 50% of your chosen paint. To this, after you've mixed it, you then add 2 or 3 drops of airbrush thinner, not more than that. Okay, more than that you're basically thinning it out too much and it's going to take longer to dry. With this method of mixing the Airbrush Flow Improver at 50% to 50% paint, I found that the finish was very smooth. Coverage was good. There was no orange peel. There was no fisheye effects. And it dried relatively quickly compared to the normal method that I'd been using of mixing Airbrush Flow Improver and thinner. So in the next segment, I'm actually going to physically airbrush these specific paints on a piece of plastic card so that you can see the results and see the finish that I had actually achieved using this new method or this new mixing ratio of Airbrush Flow Improver. So stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and let's check out the results of the new method of using Airbrush Flow Improver. Now, as you saw in the previous segment, I took a piece of black plastic card. Now, I specifically chose a black plastic card because I wanted to check the opacity and the coverage of each of the acrylic paints. Now, I've used these specific acrylic paints mainly because, well, it's what I have available in my stash of paints. But this can be applied to this method of using Airbrush Flow Improver can be applied to all water-based acrylic paints, whether it's MIG Ammo or SMS or whatever acrylic water-based paints you have. You can use this method of 50% Vallejo Air Flow Improver, 50% of your paints, and a few drops of your thinners. I also took 2 wing sections and I scribed some detail using Tamiya's scribing tool, and I also did some rivet detail using the riveting tool from Galaxy Models. I'll put a link in the description to their website if you're interested in getting yourself a riveting tool. Their riveting wheels are very good quality, high tensile steel, stainless steel, so yeah, it's very good quality. So I took 2 wing sections and I basically did some panel detail. I scribed some panel detail using Tamiya's panel scriber, and I added some rivet detail using the Galaxy Models riveting wheel. Now this one here is the one that I did with using the AK Interactive's Air Series Helo Drab color, and you can see here that the panel lines and the rivet detail, you know, the coverage is good with the paint, but it hasn't obscured any of the detail. You know, the rivet detail and the panel line detail is still there. I then did a second one using Vallejo's Model Air in a grey color. I just want to try and zoom in here. And you can see in this image here that the panel line detail is still very prominent. The rivet detail, now I didn't put a lot of pressure when actually doing the rivet detail. I sort of like applied like very minimal, but you can see like the Edward kits, their rivet detail is very fine and delicate. So if you put too much paint, you can actually lose some of that detail. But with this method of using the Flow Improver, you don't lose any of that detail. I did apply a black wash to sort of like enhance the rivet detail and the panel lines that I did, and you can see in the corners of the panel lines that I rescribed and this little circular shape, I took a needle that I put into sort of like a chuck. I punched in some rivet detail, and you can see it is still very, very, very clear to see. So the coverage is good. It's not too thin either, so you get good coverage with minimal paints. I mean, you saw in the demonstration in the previous section, I only applied 2 coats. Some of the paint, like for instance the Green Stuff World's Colorshift Cobalt, I did have to put a little bit more to sort of like get better coverage. But what I can definitely say to you is that the finish is absolutely smooth. There's no graininess, there's no uneven paint coverage, there's no fisheye effect, there's no orange peel, and it's very durable as well. I mean, here I am, I'm scratching the surface and it's not removing the paint. You can see sort of like the scratch marks and everything, but it's not removing any of the paint. So durability is still there as well, you know. So I'm hoping that this little video will give you some sort of like insight into a different way of using Vallejo's Airbrush Flow Improver to get better finishes with your paints. What I can add to this as well is what I found when cleaning my airbrush after applying the paint. I didn't have to spend that much time to actually clean. Cleaning was actually a lot easier. It was like the Flow Improver kept the paint sort of like more of a sort of like wet consistency. Didn't dry out at all. I mean, when I did the wing section, I took the Vallejo Model Air, I put it in the airbrush, I sprayed. I actually put the airbrush down and I walked away for like 30 minutes. I came back and I thought, oh geez, I need to clean the airbrush. And I'm thinking, oh well, the paint's going to dry out and everything's going to be difficult to actually clean the paint from the airbrush. But it wasn't the case. The paint was still of a wet consistency. It didn't dry out, it didn't form a skin, it didn't stick to the airbrush. I basically flushed it out with water. I didn't use airbrush cleaner or airbrush thinner or lacquer thinner or acetone or anything. Just plain water. Flushed it out, sprayed through, added some more water, used my paintbrush to sort of like clean it inside and everything. Did a backflow, flushed it out again, sprayed through, put some more water in. When I did the backflow, there was absolutely no paint left in the cup or on the needle. I took the needle out, there was no paint stuck to the needle as well. It was absolutely clean. So for cleaning purposes, using the new Airbrush Flow Improver mixing method, it's definitely going to help with when you do quick color changes. You know, you're not going to be spending a lot of time cleaning your airbrush. It's basically pour in your water, flush it out, pour in some more water, flush it out, and you're ready to go for your next color. Now I hope this video has been informative and that it proves to be useful to you. If you go ahead and try this new method and it works for you, or even if it doesn't work for you, please come back to this video, leave a comment. I will answer every single comment. Also, to help my channel grow, I would appreciate it if you go and hit that like button. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and then go back and look at that little notification bell. Tap on that notification bell, set it to all, and every time I publish a new video with some videos like this or other videos of building and stuff, you will be notified immediately as soon as I publish it onto the YouTube channel. I want to thank you for your support, and I would appreciate it if you continue to support me. Share it with your friends and colleagues and family if you have family that's into art or model work, and yeah, help my channel grow a little bit. So in closing, I want to say, go out there, be imaginative, be inspired, but most of all, go out there and be creative. Thank you for watching. Cheers for now.